This is Justin Amazon on Wednesday, July 24th, 2019. And I am on the 3 minute intentionally this time. Just zooming out for the last few days, we've been holding below this cyan line. And I was just talking about yesterday where we came down. Oops, there we go. We came down, did this double bottom, got this retest almost to 1972.50. And it looks like today we're doing a secondary retest right back down to this same neckline area. It's not exact. It touched this after hours yesterday, and somehow it did this crazy spike up here pre-market, like right before the market opened. So anyway, that's the framework today, and I'm going to zoom back in to show you kind of what's going on in here. It's just easier to see. All right. So this is right before the market opens. I don't know what all this is. It's, where's the volume? 2,580 shares. So I don't even know what that means. I'd have to look at a different time frame to see. We're already on the 3 minute. Usually I'm on the 5. So let's step into the day. You get this high wave candle right here below 1972.50. And so the initial thought is, well, you know, we did something similar and we just went bearish from this line. Now we're below this line. We could totally go bearish, and you could set that up and set up a trade going bearish here and a stop up here. But you know, looking at the daily, and I'm not going to switch over to the daily right now, but the 21 moving average is right there, like literally right here somewhere, 1965, 1967, something like that. The fact that we've gapped down from a bearish candle makes this a bearish retest gap. But like I said, kind of the framework that I'm working with today is it's giving us another opportunity and actually touching 1972.50. And so I'm looking at this to give us another bounce here. So if you go at it with the either bearish or bullish perspective, the very next candle tells you what it's doing. It's not bearish, it's going bullish. It's breaking out. Okay, great. It's moved quite a bit. I'll show you what happened on some of the options, but you get this huge spike down because of all the stops that were hit for anybody who was buying and didn't expect all of this news to, you know, just drop it out of the sky. So the call I was looking at, it spiked way down and then recovered, and just from that candle alone was more than $100 risk that I like to use. So after this candle, it kind of settled down a little bit, and then the next candle had an incredible bounce. And again, it's harder to, I want to keep this on here. All right. It had a low of 1972.25 and bounced from there. And this just happened too quick for me, so I missed that. It's a great hammer right here. And I didn't really want to take the break out of that and a stop way down here somewhere, just for the possibility that it could actually come back down again and bounce. I didn't think it was going to do that, but still, just framing the trade, $100 risk, and you know, just being able to step away and let it do its thing. So it just kind of continued on up. Made this another high wave candle, the bearish one here, another high wave candle with a larger upper wick. This saying, okay, maybe it'll pull back a little bit. At least there's some resistance here. Makes sense. There's some resistance there. That's where we paused for a little while yesterday. You know, so we're kind of retesting this old support as new resistance today, and we just kind of need to get through that. Pull back a little bit into the 5, and we're just going sideways. I really like this hammer, and then a small indecision candle right here, similar volume, just not as much of a move. And I think the net, yeah, so this candle starts to break out from this smaller, it's just kind of like a little flag right here. It's got lower volume. You're pushing right up into this level. And but I like that there was a close up here where we didn't get a close that high earlier. And so I was setting up a trade to get in on a pullback from this candle, thinking, okay, maybe we'll pull back and hold like 1982 somewhere in here, and you know, continue on up. Well, I was wrong. We didn't do that. But I set up the trade, and I didn't expect it to fill immediately, but it did. And so got low volume. It's like, okay, I'm going to get stepped on this. And it actually helped me just know that, all right, I know I'm wrong. Let's just see if it holds. And then it sort of just held there until, oops, too far. It held there until these two little candles came in that looked like mini hammers and started to bounce again without even touching the 21. We didn't even get a close. Let's see, I guess technically that candle closed under the 5. But aside from that, I think that one's right on it. We're going to say that one's right on it. I'd have to zoom in a little too much, you know. Anyway, that starts to break out from these two candles. Now we're looking at this as resistance, which is where I was looking at resistance before. And this starts to break out. And I'm like, okay, it's going to go. It's going to go straight up to 1990. It doesn't do that. It starts to form this, which is kind of a odd-shaped evening star reversal. If you look back at it on the 5-minute, I think it actually is a really clean evening star reversal, or it's a really nice triangle here, and this is your retest back into the apex. And this is a great place for it to bounce. Unfortunately, that was the same place that my option got entered, and so the option value was less than, I think, where I entered it here. So yeah, that pulled back some more. That actually touched the 21. Another hammer here. We've got a squeeze forming, but still we're holding this whole area. We're not rolling back down, which, you know, kind of, again, I was less worried about because I figured, okay, I'm just going to get stepped out. I'm going to lose an R on this. And then that started to bounce. And then I came back and it's like, okay, maybe it'll double bottom. And I'm not watching this the whole time. I'm at work and doing some other stuff, but you get that double bottom and it starts to go. And right back up in here. You got the high that we're running into here. This is now an inverted hammer. This could come back down. I'm just looking at, again, from the bullish perspective, looking for it to kind of maintain these lows, and for the stock to continue up, even though the option is doing whatever it's doing. And then we get into the 1990 price. And this was really cool because we did that yesterday and we pushed on through. We ultimately came back down and pulled through it just to bounce and continue higher. Didn't quite get back up to this price. So today I'm thinking, okay, it's up there. I'm only up a little bit, like because it's option or it's earnings on Thursday after hours, tomorrow after hours. The option's just not moving very much. So from here to here, I think I was up maybe $20 or something. It was really disappointing to see that that's all it was. And I'm like, okay, there should be more to this. Like, we've made it up this far. If we get a little higher, if we can get up here, then it's going to be a bullish engulfing. Kind of looking at what it's been doing over the last few days, just trading back and forth in this range. It's like, you know, it hasn't really rolled over right here, like as soon as it gets there, even though there's a high wave candle here, this looks like it's starting to break out. Okay, let's stay in this. Well, then it starts to pull back a little bit. And it pulls back almost to this high and pretty much into this high right here. And it's starting to make this new triangle here, which is good. I like seeing triangles. I like that it's holding the 21. But I think at this point, the option was, I think I was down on the trade at this point. Just from here to here, I think that pulled back enough. And again, the psychology of it, I'm kicking myself. It's like I should have exited. But again, I have to be like, okay, this is the plan I was going to stay in, you know, and it does start to recover. And then it's just dancing right on 1990 and continuing to push through. And let's see, touch the 21. Again, that comes in and then starts to pull back again. It may have been here. Yeah, I think it was here that I'm like, okay, it was back. Maybe I was up a little bit here and then I was back down here. I don't think it was this one. But all this, just holding through this. Yeah, I was definitely down here. I think I was down a lot, but I didn't even look at it. I think it was in a meeting or something. I'm trying to think of where things were at for the day. So all the while, I'd entered here, still in the trade here, and just looking for that to continue higher. And, you know, at this point, I mean, with my $100 risk, you know, I've only got like half of that risk left, which means it's not a stop that's like way down here like it was when this entered or here. I mean, essentially the option price has caused my stop to move to like here, you know, and it's essentially trailing itself. I'm just not getting that much more gain out of it. And I wanted to give it that room because I was confident or maybe overconfident that it was going to continue up, just from how I expected Amazon to move today with just the initial open and just continuing like this. I'm like, this cannot turn into a bearish day. It just, this was kind of the most I thought maybe it's going to totally reverse here, and it did. But all it did is put in 5 bearish candles and then couldn't push below this low. And so then that's where I was confident that it's like, okay, this should stay above here. I just didn't want it to chop around as much as it did yesterday, just like this, where we're kind of just dancing around the 1990 price. So it does end up getting back up to 1990, and is using that as it's holding there as resistance, and then pops through again. And again, it's kind of like, okay, is this just going to sit here? I'm glancing at the trade here and there, and just leaving, letting it ride, giving it the day to do it, and wanting to, get out for more of a profit. And then I'm in a meeting through like the 2 o'clock hour. I was in a meeting, I think from 1 o'clock to 2, and then the meeting went to almost like 2:30. And so I wasn't watching the trade do all this. That's what it was. I wasn't watching it do all this because I probably would have just been staring at my phone while it was happening. But when it got up here, I looked at the screen and saw, oh, I'm back up. I'm up at like, at like $75. I'm up, this could get me up to maybe an R, maybe $100. And it got to this point here with this hammer, inverted hammer, and we're above this line, which we've not been able to push through this line. And I can zoom back out and show you. We haven't really pushed through this during the day, I don't think. And so when I saw this up here, I knew I had another meeting I was going into at 2:30 that I wasn't going to be able to do anything with this. I'm like, I got to get out of this now, and I'm still in that meeting from 1. And on this candle, I set up the trade to just exit me out at, I think, $80. Like, that's good. I'm not going to be able to watch it. I'm not going to be able to think about it. I don't want to think about the trade anymore. And it's really just almost freeing to do that, to just get out of the trade. And, you can then look back and be like, okay, where should I have entered? Should I have held? You can be more objective when you're not in the middle of it. So that's why it's good to have, the plan of where you're expecting, what you're going to do when it's moving in certain places. And so I exited, and an exit on this candle at the 221 price. And then I don't think I looked at it until after the market closed, and it came right back down to this level, which is what I thought it was going to do. And I thought it was actually going to pull back a little bit more, like it did the other day. I think it rolled over from 1990. So I was kind of expecting a little more of a rollover from here. Instead, it bounced, and we actually crossed 2,000 again today. I think the close, 2001.40. The close and the high on this candle were the same right here. So sorry, let me back up. So this candle was the close and the high. And so on the daily, I think we had a shaved top, unless the daily close always looks a little different. Okay, so the high is 2001.30. The close is 2000.81, but we've crossed the 2000 mark again. We had a great bounce off of the 21. You can see this is now a bullish engulfing candle. And so far, we are holding the 21 kind of in the middle of this range, similar to what we did all throughout back here. We didn't even come down and touch the 21. This time we're touching it, and we're staying above it. And so, we did that here, and now we've done it, really 3 times in a row every other day. And so my guess is that we're going to continue to rally here into throughout the day Thursday. And I think we have the potential to make a new all-time high tomorrow. We've got the same volume. We got to get moving to go up and do that. We've already, there we go. We've already got this spike up here. So, there's people who want this, to, pay whatever to get it. But right now we're right here. We've got about $50 to move, $55 to move to get, or points, 55 points to move to get to a new all-time high. It's possible that we'll get there. What I would really prefer to have is a bearish candle come in, anything, something small, something that's a hammer, anything that ends the day bearish and then we gap up anywhere in here in this range and fly, or anywhere up here and we just fly and go on up. If we get another bullish candle and we're actually moving up, I think there's more potential that we could gap down and have a bigger pullback, definitely down to 1925, but potentially even further. And any of the bulls who are buying, off the 5 here or off the 21 here, they would then be trapped, and there'll be some more selling that comes in before we can, we get a bigger pullback, like I talked about recently, coming down to like 1875 possibly, and then bouncing from there. So we'll see what happens. We'll go over it again. Well, by the time I go over it again tomorrow, we'll have earnings, and we'll have an idea of kind of where for after hours it has the potential to open for Friday morning. And then we can get back to some normal options that aren't as far out of the money. So I was using the 2100 call. This was that spike down, came down to 308, and I did not want to get in 4x3. I mean, it just seemed like there was way too much potential that this thing could just bounce around, and I wasn't quick enough to get in at 4. Let me say it again. I wanted to get in at 4x3, but I didn't want it to happen that quick because I wasn't ready to, have it rest right there and get into that. And I think the candle that I was looking at was the 836 candle, and that was way up here, like around 450. Now, had I just set up 450, I don't know if it would have filled. The low here is 455. The low here was 458. It's possible 450 would have filled. This was 445. It's possible it would have filled here or here or here, maybe if an order was out there to do it. But I got in on the 909 3-minute candle. So I'm looking at 3-minute for all this stuff today. So I got in right at 5, thinking that it was going to take a little longer for it to pull back, and it immediately filled. And a stop at 4, thinking it was going to stay above this at this point, because this was the 450. This is where we were bouncing off of 1972.50 on the stock. And so, I went out this far just to have, a reasonable $100 risk to reward. If you look at, and then where it got out was at 580. Where's that? It filled at, I think, at 580 at 221. Yeah, so $80. Risking 100, made 80. Never moved my stop because I wanted this thing to have all the room it needed, with just how choppy things were with just losing premium on the options. And so that's not something I'll normally do, but I knew that I had that on my side in terms of it being earnings, that the options weren't just going to, collapse and lose so much premium. If we look at the 2075 call, that had even sparser volume, kind of more sporadic movements. So I wasn't crazy about that. And then, I kind of had my eye on the 2100 that we were looking at yesterday too. So it helps just kind of keep an eye on a certain option and just kind of let that play out. So the other one to get or to watch would have been the 2050. A little more expensive, a little harder to do, $100 risk. I guess you could have been getting in like 13 by 12 or possibly like 1250 by 1150 here. That probably would have been really nice. Like 12 right here, getting in at that 1972.50, 12 by 11. This just probably would have been a little bit concerning. That there was some movement more than $1 below your entry, which means you get stopped out. So the nice thing is if you had done like 1250, there's a potential you could have been filled here. And then let's see, if I had done it, entered the order at the 909, I don't think I would have gotten filled at 13. I probably would have done something like 13 by 12 and would have been getting in up here. And then the rest of the day would have been positive. And looking for 2R would have been 15, which we got into right there. So that would have been nice to have 13 by 12 and take it off at 15 for 2R. That's what I was looking for with the 2100 call, because had I gotten, this is the issue, had I gotten in 4x3, I could have held to 6 a little bit longer, but I probably would have been exiting as we got into the 1990 price initially. What was that over here? I probably would have exited like for about 150, because I would have been up more, you know, instead of being just basically break even for a lot of this. And because I gave my stop that much more room, I had more confidence to just kind of wait and let the stock move on its own and let things play out. So that's how things moved around today. We'll switch back to what we usually look at, the 5-minute. The candles just aren't as clean here. You do have this one bouncing nicely, but this was not as clean of kind of a bounce here. It happened all within that same 5-minute. And like I said, I got in the 909 candle, it filled immediately. Well, had I been looking at the 5-minute, I wouldn't have had a close up here yet. And so I would have waited and probably would have had a better entry. Even 475 would have been a better entry and wouldn't have had as much of a pullback range over the next, half hour, 45 minutes or so. And then even over here, it wouldn't have pulled back as much to make me be down on the trade. So, yeah, we had a nice push up through. Okay, so we did get a little bit above this line yesterday, and then we pushed similarly. Oops. So we got above it here, but not with a close. And this was the first time we closed above this line, I think at all. Let's see now. We go back, look at that line. Yeah, so we've been below this line at like 1995. Oh, I didn't even draw it straight. 1995. Let's just call it 1996. So the 1996 cyan line, that was kind of an afterthought after we put in these lows here and here and here, all these lows after this kind of triangle apex here, this kind of mirroring I was talking about. We really held that as a high. And so that's a line I drew in just to help with the current framework. And so, even today, even though we took out yesterday's low, you can see it today that we've got these higher lows here. And again, they're every other day, but it's not a line. I mean, I connect them with a line, but if you go back to the daily, it's just the 21. We're really right on the 21. We're a little bit above it, I think, each of the days. I'd have to go back and check the price. Let's see. Yeah, this one we pulled through. This one we stayed above, and then this one we did end up staying above. So it's basically the 21, but we stayed above it. So this line actually does a little bit better to just hold those lows. So with that in mind, let's switch over to an hourly and see what's going on here. Okay. Hang on, I haven't looked at this yet. Just wondering. Yep. I wonder if we'll do that tomorrow. I wonder if we have an inside day tomorrow. If we can get an inside day tomorrow within this range, so if we come back down and roll down from 1996 and come back into the 1970s, if we can get a bearish candle in here, or even one that just ends bearish. I mean, it can be another hammer that just, it closes below it opens. That'd be a great setup to then continue bullish. But I think we're fitting a triangle framework up here. And to just kind of have a little more confidence in that, I'm going to extend this to the left and see, yeah, just about contacts there. Yeah, okay. I'm much more confident that we're just making this bigger triangle up here. Because that was the issue with this one. This triangle, I mean, it was fitting for a little while, but and it's totally thrown off on the hourly. If we go back to the 5-minute, it fit a lot better. Yeah, it fit a lot better to this. So the hourly, you don't see it as much. It fits so well right here for that first half hour that day. But I think what's cleaner is probably this. And so if you're new to seeing my videos and you're like, that's a lot of lines, it's because I've just been drawing more lines on the 5-minute, and I haven't gotten rid of it too many. So they just help with the framework and help me look at what's happening in the 5-minute. And lately, it's been playing out really well. This 1972.50 has been a key level. We pushed down below into the 1950s, but didn't really hit any solid number. And now that I'm drawing this in, wish I drew it in the other day, because then I would have had even more confidence just buy at the open. I mean, if I had done that with the 2100 call, I could have been buying down here. Like, I could have had an order set up for $4, especially because we were opening way down. Just having something open and maybe just an entry and not a stop, but not something I recommend because it can still move back even more. But sometimes you catch these spikes. This one, because it's so far out of the money, maybe it wouldn't have been a good one to do. So maybe the 2050. I didn't even catch what price that got down to. Oh, that would have been great. I would have done 10 by 9 and just had that set up sitting down here, and that should have filled on a pullback to 920. That's one of my favorites, 10 by 9 on an option. That's reasonably moving around that price. And I would say this was because you were just above 10 here and then here, and these are the every other day pullbacks. And so this one actually pulls back into 10. That would have been a great setup, 10 by 9, and then just hold that all day and let it run. Or do an add and reduce, add something around like 14, 13 over here, 14 over here, as it kind of pulls back and each time does these S curves and then just continued moving on up. So we'll see how things play out tomorrow. I don't know that, I don't know for sure we'll get that pullback. Let's see, I'm going to move. Okay. Try not to move this too much. I'm going to pull this back into today's range and then extend it to the right. And then turn off, extend to the left. Okay, so now I've got, where did that one go? Let's sketch that way over here. I did. Okay. Extend to the right, and then I'll move this so that this, when I look at the video tomorrow, this point should stay on this time frame, and it won't be pushed or moved or smeared by whenever the candles actually fill in for tomorrow's pre-market and active hours, open market hours. So we'll see if we get something in this range whenever it's, I don't know that this whole portion or that this portion is the open market, when the market's open tomorrow. So we'll see if we get something in this framework. We totally have the opportunity to continue up. I haven't zoomed out as much as I can be, apparently. Let me sketch. So the other thing to consider is we're up here right now. This could be an initial retracement similar to this. And so we could do something where we S-curve and go like this or go like this. And then, I mean, during the day tomorrow, let's say we get another retest like this, we could totally go and break out. Or we could do something where we break out more and then come back. And if this kind of closes down in here after opening, say up here, that would still be bearish. This would be full of all those bearish, all those sellers. And if we can gap above them and gap up in here after earnings, that would be pretty cool. So just some potentials that we could have to continue, because this is really bullish and this is really bullish. And this is really bullish. This was really bearish. This was a little less bearish, and then some news came out here. So we've had some smaller pullbacks and some bigger bullish pushes. And so, lately, like within this kind of time frame. Before that, we had some bigger pullbacks. So I'm just saying, if we think of this whole range in here, can I draw a box around it? I can. If we think of all of this, oh, come on. There we go. Everything I've got boxed in right here. If we think of this as an accumulation on a smaller time frame, it totally makes sense that we're going to break out right here and then continue. This was our consolidation. We've done this before. This kind of thing. We just did one here. We did one here. It's just a matter of, are we going to break out? And this is showing more bullish than bearish. The bullish engulfing candle here. And then we've done that. I think it was back over in here where we did something similar. We had some bearish, alternating bearish, bullish, and then we ultimately broke out. And that was our next run up to try and get back up to the all-time high. Didn't get there in that case. I think we've got a stronger bullish move now that we have the potential to get up there and to continue to push. So we'll see tomorrow, see what happens, and we'll take a look at the options for how things play out tomorrow, but also get an idea of where things could open, and then kind of get an idea of or plan out some potential options to trade on Friday, which should be a little more affordable to be able to do that. So anyway, I hope this helps. Hope this makes sense, and you get to kind of see how I played through a trade today, and really kind of what was going through my mind when I did it, because I was learning stuff, and like I said, as soon as I was in that and saw it pull back, it's like, man, I shouldn't have gotten in right there. And so just to see the trade work out, even when I was like so confident I was going to be wrong, it kind of allowed me to step back and be like, okay, I can do better next time. And so that's the plan. Do better next time. Hope this helps. This is Justin AMZN. Thanks.